Hello everyone. Now previously we talked about several methods about reading fill in blanks. Today we are going to dig a little bit deeper about fill in blanks. As we all know, every single sentence is made of subject, verb, and object. Last week we talked about the practice of a verb or finding a verb. Whenever you have a blank, then you check the 3 words before or maybe 4 words before or 4 words after the blank to see what do you miss. You might miss a verb. Whenever you miss a verb, you need to start to look for different variations of verbs. So now we have a recap. First of all, a sentence, yes, you have subject, verb, object. The verb is something that is the most obvious one. Then it's very easy for you to fill that gap. And then when it comes to verbs, think about what are the variations of verbs. First of all, when you see something before the blank, for example, you might see am, is, are, and then if that's the case, you will have to most likely choosing a verb that with the verb ing form or a verb with ed form only if it has some preposition words after. So just me copy this one. You might have a verb with ed form, but you need to have a preposition words afterwards. Like you might have a by, or you might have into, you might have a from, etc. And sometimes you might have the past tense. So you might have was or were. And yes, you will have the same situation like the previous ones. Okay, so that's this case. That's whenever you see a linking verb before the blank. But sometimes what happens is we don't have any linking verb, but we have some past tense or a time frame tells us that it's something happened in the past, certain action that occurred in the past. So in that case, you might see a past tense. In that case, your verb needs to go to verb with ed. And then the most common one and something that is pretty obvious and easy for us is your perfect. Perfect, which you have past or present perfect, have, has, and you might have had. In this case, most of the case what we are looking is a verb with ed form, or sometimes you will have the continuous form is has, had, been with a verb ing form. Yeah, so those are the basic forms of verbs that we are looking for. But every time when you look for a verb, you need to always double check what is the information, what are the contents before the blank. And then the most basic one is something that we quite often ignore is the basic form of verb. Okay, so this is a case that is when your subject, if your subject is singular, then you need to check your verb. You always need to have a verb with s. But however, if your subject is plural, then you need to look for a verb just like this. This is about present form, present. Okay, so you need to be aware of the different tense for you to find the right verb. Okay, so now this is the case that we're searching for verbs. So now we take a few examples just to try what kind of blanks that you might have. So we check in here. First of all, let's look at this blank. This question, although environmentalists have been something about this situation for decades, we see have been. So obviously we are looking for something with verb with ing form. So under this case, we have one option here, warning. So in this blank, we will choose warning in here. Okay, and then we will do another question, this one. The second one, the Edinburgh Business School something the project at a reception in Carroll on Saturday. This is, we are not sure about the tense, but we know we are looking for a verb. So the school something a project, but when we look at the rest of part of the passage, we see hoped, we see said. So this is something happened in the past. So it's about past tense. We're looking for a verb that with past tense. And then the school project, so we choose announced. So it has to be this one, announced the project. So this is basically how we use the verb to solve the different types of blank. Obviously, you are going to have different types of test in the exam, and you might have something with ing form. Let me find you one ing form for you to know how do you use that. Okay, let's look at this one first. So the name of the movement is something from some kind of impression. So we are looking for a verb that start before the blank we have is, and after blank we have from, a preposition word. So under this case we said most likely we are looking for a verb with ed form. So we look at here, we have derived, inspired. So under this case, the name of the movement is derived from the impression. So that's how we use another verb to find out the different types of, to fill the different gap. There is another blank that we can talk about is with your verb with ing form. You see here, there's a blank. Before the blank, we see are still something, the benefits of Western end success. Whenever you see are, and then they're missing actual contents in here, a action, a verb. So we're looking for a verb with ing form. So under this case, we choose reaping. So this is how we use am, is, are, was, were, plus verb with ing form. Okay, so those are the previous questions that we talk about. Those are the examples that I just showed you how to use verbs. Now, next one we're going to talk about is subject and object. To be honest, when a question or when a blank is about subject and object, it can be difficult and can be tricky. There are two reasons. Number one, sometimes the words, the given option, that they are really difficult to identify the meaning because they might be new to you, or sometimes is you don't know who is adjective or who is a verb. Okay, so now let's first of all, okay, so next one we talk about a subject and object. Why I put these two together? Okay, so all the subjects and the objects, they are made of nouns and adjectives. So in that case, whenever your subject or your object is missing, that means the blank that in front of you should be either about adjective or the verb or noun. Okay, first let's talk about who are they. So first of all, most of the case you know who are noun, who are adjectives, who are the verbs. Adjective is something to describe the noun, the verb is something to describe the verb or to describe the adjective. But whenever we have difficult vocabularies, or you might have a limited vocabulary, it's hard for you to tell the meaning. But there are certain things that you can identify from the ending part of the word. So let's start with noun. So normally, whenever you see the ending of the word as ment, sion, tion, ant, ence. Whenever you see this kind of ending, that you can tell yourself this is a noun. So that means you can literally use your grammar knowledge to fill that gap. And then the most common one we see is whenever we see word ended with er, or, ist. This is about a bunch of people. Okay, let me just separate in this part. In that case, it's clear. This is about noun, but they are a group of people. And then you might see things about py or y ended. So this is a case that it's about a field, an area, or a field of study. So why I show you this? Just to give you an example that there are sometimes that you couldn't recognize certain words, but from the ending part you can tell what are they, adjective, noun, or the verb. Now, as we know this is noun, then from noun we can change things into adjective. So the adjective will be ended with those. So we will have sive, tive, cial, ial, sial, able, ful, l, and then you will have ent. You have sometimes y, and you have ious, conscious, consciousness, conscious. So you have this kind of ending. That means it's adjectives. Quite often that you don't know what is adjective, but you can look at the last 4 or 3 letters, then you can tell what are they. And then the other verb, they are pretty easy. They normally ended with ly or double ly. So that's the most common cases that you will see for about your adverb. And then, so what is that relation? So you need to know, first of all, adjectives. Adjectives are used to describe a noun. For example, you say flowers. You can say flowers, or you can say beautiful flowers. So in that case, we know adjective is to describe a noun. So example is beautiful flowers. Okay. And then at the same time, your adjective can be used to describe another adjectives. So for example, beautiful new dress. Yeah. And then, so this is a case that you might have a blank. You might have a blank in between an adjective or a noun. So in that case, in the middle, you are looking for something about another adjective. And then as for the adverb is something that we use to describe adjectives. So for example, fantastically, F-A-N-T-I-S, fantastically good, something like this. And then you will use your adverb to describe a verb. And the verb can be before or can be after the verb. Like, let's say, an example is she ran quickly, or she quickly ran. She ran quickly, or she quickly ran towards the north. Yeah. Yeah, so those are the basic formulas about the relationships between adjectives, noun, adverb, and adjective. So now we're going to use all of this trick to start to do some practice, and then in that case you know how we actually apply those rules. This one. So first of all, we have here. So a third of the 68,000 boarding pupils at such school come from overseas. You look at this blank. When you look at this, come from overseas, this blank is perfect without the blank. And then first of all, we know that we need something to describe the come from. And we know come is a verb. We need a verb. We need something before the verb. And we are looking for an adjective. So we have already. So that's why we fill that blank as already. And then we look for another example. Let's see. There is this one. So when we see here, this one, some kind of judgments are evident in terms of such vowel and yawn. We don't know the meaning, but we know judgment is a noun. So if you don't know judgments as noun, as we said, whenever you see a word ended with M-E-N-T, they are nouns. So we need something before the noun to describe the noun. So obviously we need an adjective. And we're looking for an adjective from the given option. Look at here. Element, no. Examples, no. Components, no. Scientists, innovators, criticism, subsets, they all not adjective. So we're looking for another adjective. We look at something that ended with L, as we said. IAL can be an adjective. So we just put this one into this blank. Colloquial judgments. Now this question is a bit tricky here. So we see this blank. This blank is, so these blanks are together. So we just start with this question. So the Japanese ship ran something near the west end of this volcanic something. We normally see a ship or a boat ran somewhere near the ending part of the line, the coast. We say ran aground. So the first blank is ran aground. And then the most important part is the second blank. It's tricky because we have some vocabularies that we're not really sure, but we see volcanic. Volcanic, when we see word ended is N-I-C, we see is an adjective. Volcanic, this word comes from volcano. So it's an adjective of volcano. So volcanic, so it's an adjective. We're looking for another noun for this blank. And then we're looking for nouns in here. We have archipelago or we have ocean. So we need to choose which precise meaning for that blank. And in this case, we need to use another method, which we need to always check the meaning of this word. Depends on this meaning, so we can choose a more precise meaning words for this blank. So previously, before this blank, we have volcanic. So it comes from volcano. Volcano is more like small mountains rather than ocean. So under this case, it's not ocean. So we need to choose archipelago for this blank. So a list of small islands. And then we will do another blank about the adjective ones. Okay, so here we go. So we have many Australian students who don't speak such good English. Who don't speak such English, it totally makes sense. It's beautiful, it's perfect. Under this case, as we say, whenever you read that sentence without the blank, one more time, whenever you take that blank out, you assume you didn't see that blank and you read the given sentence. If it totally makes sense to you, you tell yourself you miss either an adjective or a verb. So under this case, okay, you tell yourself you're missing an adjective or the verb, but however, after the blank is good adjective, and we need to look for another thing that can describe adjective. As we just mentioned before, we are looking for an adverb. We need an adverb to describe good. So as we're looking here, we have fantastically good. So here, we can put in this blank, fantastically good. So this is basically how we use our grammar trick to solve this question. I hope you guys learned the method, and it's very useful, in particular for the question that you have difficult vocabularies. And if you have any other questions or any difficult question that you don't know how to solve, leave in the comments, and good luck. Bye-bye. So guys, if you like this video, thumb up. If you don't like this video, thumb up, thumb up, thumb up. If you have any questions, leave it below. Subscribe this channel, follow us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. You will keep updated about the changes and new updates and new tips and tricks about PTE exam. See you soon. Bye bye. Keep yourself safe.